Every year, millions of older adults across America show up to their routine medical checkups. They sit in waiting rooms, fill out forms, and trust they're doing the right thing, protecting their health, staying mobile, staying G-safe. But what if I told you that some of those very tests, yes, the ones often recommended without a second thought, might actually be quietly stealing your strength, weakening your legs, and accelerating muscle loss, all without you realizing it? I know, it sounds unbelievable. You trust your doctor, you follow the advice. You want to keep moving, stay independent, and live fully. But here's the part no one talks about. Not the brochures in the clinic, not the headlines, and sometimes not even your doctor. Hidden within the routines of modern medicine are risks that can quietly chip away at your mobility, not with a sudden crash, but with a slow, silent drift. Imagine this. You walk into your clinic steady and confident, but months later you find yourself reaching for a cane or hesitating at the top of the stairs, wondering, what happened to me? The truth? Some routine tests and treatments, especially when overused, can damage your leg strength and muscle health, particularly after age 60. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through the 5 most common medical procedures silently weakening your legs and how you can protect yourself before your next appointment. This may change the way you look at aging and your health forever. But first, a quick favor. If you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and hit that button and tap the bell. These tips are made with you in mind. And if you find value in this video, type A1 in the comments. If not, type a 0. That feedback helps us grow. 1. DEXA scans, when done too often. If you're over 60, chances are you've heard of the DEXA scan. It measures bone density to screen for osteoporosis. Sounds helpful, right? After all, no one wants to risk a hip or spine fracture. But here's what you're not being told. When done too often, this scan can trigger a medical chain reaction that ultimately weakens your legs. Let me explain. I've seen this happen over and over again in my practice. A patient comes in feeling fine. No falls, no issues, just doing a routine checkup. The scan shows a mild drop in bone density, nothing unusual for their age, but suddenly they're prescribed a bone-strengthening drug like Fosamax or Actonol. These medications are strong, and while they can help some, they can also make bones brittle, especially in the femur, the thigh bone that carries your weight. Let me tell you about Evelyn. She was 77, a retired teacher from Minnesota, sharp-minded and active. She walked a mile every morning, but after her 3rd DEXA scan in 4 years showed a little dip in density, her doctor prescribed bisphosphonates. No history of fractures, just precaution. 16 months later, she felt a sharp pain in her thigh while stepping off a curb. No fall, no trauma, just a sudden fracture. X-rays showed a classic stress fracture caused not by osteoporosis, but by long-term medication overuse. The very drug meant to protect her had nearly stolen her independence, and that's the real danger, not just the fracture, but the loss of trust in your own legs, the fear of movement, and the spiral of inactivity that often follows. So what can you do? Ask questions. Do I actually need this scan now? Have there been real changes in my body? Or is this just routine? For many people over 60, a DEXA every 3 to 5 years is more than enough, unless there's a compelling reason. Because sometimes, doing less is doing the smarter thing, and that brings us to number 2, a test that doesn't just weaken your legs. It can trick your brain into thinking they've forgotten how to move at all. 2. EMG and nerve conduction tests. Without clear symptoms. Maybe you've noticed a little tingling in your feet, a bit of numbness that comes and goes. Your doctor, playing it safe, refers you for an EMG or nerve conduction study. Tests designed to measure electrical activity in your muscles and nerves. You're told it's routine, just to rule things out. But here's the truth, most aren't told. These tests, when done without clear need, can lead to fear-based diagnoses and unnecessary treatments. As we age, It's normal for our nerve signals to slow down, just like our eyesight or hearing. But sometimes those normal changes get misread as something dangerous, like neuropathy or nerve damage. Suddenly, patients are diagnosed with scary-sounding conditions, sent to specialists, put on medications, or worse, lined up for surgery. Let me tell you about George. He was 73, a retired mailman from Indiana. He had a little backache, nothing serious. But after an EMG showed vague abnormalities, his doctor suspected a compressed nerve. Soon he was getting spinal injections. When those didn't work, they scheduled back surgery. Post-op, George's life changed. His legs felt different. His walk became uneven. He stopped gardening, stopped walking to the store. In 6 months, he'd lost 30% of his lower body muscle. And the worst part, he said, "I wish someone had told me my nerves were just old, not broken." That's the silent cost, not just in muscle loss, but in how we begin to doubt our own bodies. Yes, EMGs can be helpful, but only when truly necessary, because sometimes a diagnosis can take away more than it gives. And the next test, it doesn't mislabel you. It injects the danger right into your joints. 3. Steroid injections, a quick fix with a quiet cost. It usually begins with something small, a nagging ache in your knee, a pinch in your hip. You mention it to your doctor, and they offer what sounds like a miracle, a cortisone shot. Just one quick injection to ease the inflammation and help you move better. And at first, it does. But no one tells you that when these shots are repeated too often, they can start doing something quietly destructive, weakening the very tissues meant to support your strength. Steroid injections are powerful anti-inflammatories, but over time they don't just dull the pain, they start breaking down cartilage, joint linings, and eventually your muscles themselves. Let me share Howard's story. Howard was 79, an Army veteran from North Carolina. Tough guy, proud, still mowed his own lawn. He'd been getting cortisone shots in both knees, every 3 months, for nearly 2 years. His doctors wanted to delay surgery, keep him mobile, ease the pain. And for a while, that worked. But slowly, Howard noticed his legs didn't feel the same. He could walk, but it felt like walking on stilts. Climbing stairs got harder. One day, stepping off a curb, his leg buckled. No injury, just a moment that felt wrong. We ran tests. His quad and hip stabilizers, the muscles critical for balance and mobility, had severely atrophied. His pain was less. But so was his strength. And that's the trade-off nobody talks about. Yes, cortisone eases pain, but overuse can dissolve the very muscles that keep you steady. If you've had more than 2 shots in a single joint over the past year, it's time to pause. Ask, is this still helping or quietly harming me? Because sometimes what feels like relief today becomes restriction tomorrow. And speaking of tomorrow, the next procedure we're about to talk about, it's one many seniors say yes to without realizing the strength they may be giving up. 4. Arthroscopic surgery after 65. A simple scope that can change everything. It's pitched as simple. Just a tiny camera, a little cleanup. In and out, same day. That's how arthroscopic surgery is often described, especially for knees and hips. But for older adults, especially over 65, this minor procedure can quietly cause major setbacks. Doctors recommend it to remove loose cartilage or smooth out arthritis. But studies show that for seniors, these procedures rarely improve pain long term, and more often lead to muscle loss and decreased mobility. Why? Because after surgery, even something small, your body needs time to heal. You walk less. You favor the joint. You stop using stairs. You move slower. And if you're in your 70s or 80s, that short break in activity can turn into a permanent decline in strength. Barbara's story stays with me. She was 81, a retired librarian from Oregon. She had mild knee discomfort, but walked daily to the store. Her doctor suggested a simple arthroscopy. Just a clean-up, they said. But post-surgery, she was barely walking, 3 weeks in a walker, depended on her daughter for meals and chores. By the time she came to me, Barbara couldn't rise from a chair without help. Her quad strength had dropped by 40%. The surgery meant to help had set her back months, maybe years. And Barbara's not alone. Medical reviews now show that arthroscopy in seniors often offers no benefit for age-related joint wear, but carries real risks. Infection, blood clots, anesthesia complications, and most critically, muscle wasting from inactivity. So before you say yes to that scope, ask, what's the evidence it will help me? Have I truly tried everything else? Because a minor procedure shouldn't come with a major loss of freedom. And now we arrive at something even more subtle. A simple test, so routine it's done in minutes. But its consequences, they can last for years. 5. Postural stability tests. When one wobble becomes a life sentence. Sometimes the most damaging moments in medicine don't involve a scalpel or syringe. They involve assumptions. One of the quietest threats to your independence may come from a simple balance test. You're asked to stand on one foot, walk a straight line, shift side to side. Harmless, right? But when these postural stability tests are misinterpreted, especially for those over 65, they can lead to a dangerous label. Frail, one wobble, one misstep. And suddenly, you're being referred to fall prevention programs, given a cane just in case, or advised to avoid stairs. And here's the hard truth. That label, high fall risk, doesn't just go on your medical record. It sinks into your self-image. You start to walk less. You stop exploring. Your world shrinks. And your muscles? They begin to wither from lack of use. Thomas, a 76-year-old jazz musician from New Orleans, came to me after one such test. He'd stumbled, slightly, during a balance exam. Just a moment. But that moment snowballed. His doctor told him to start using a cane. A therapist labeled him a fall risk. In 6 months, Thomas told me, I don't feel like myself anymore. His glute and calf strength had dropped 25%, and his joy for movement was gone. That's the cost of a misread moment. Remember, not every shake is a sign of frailty. Sometimes your body just needs training, not restriction. And that brings us to the real question. 6. What should you do instead? By now you might be wondering, if these common tests can do so much harm, what should I do instead? The answer isn't just about saying no to what doesn't serve you. It's about saying yes to the things that restore your power. Let me be clear. The strongest defense you have as you age is not another test, scan, or pill. It's your voice, your choices, and your movement. Start with questions, not fear. Will this test truly help me? What will this diagnosis change? Is this recommendation based on my life or just my age? Prioritize strength training, even gently, 2 to 3 times a week. Focus on glute strength, balance, hydration, and vitamin D. And above all, stay curious and confident. One of my favorite stories is Martha, 74, from Colorado. She was told she needed an MRI and a steroid injection for hip pain. She felt pressured. Instead, she chose physical therapy, glute work, balance drills. She asked questions. She stayed active. 12 weeks later, Martha was walking 3 miles a day without pain. No injections, no imaging, no loss of strength. That's what's possible when you trust your body instead of rushing to treat it. Have we been taught to fear the wrong things? As we age, we're told, more tests mean better care. Catch problems early, treat fast, trust the process. But after decades working with older adults, I've seen another truth unfold. Sometimes it's not the disease that steals your strength, it's the system, the assumptions, the overtreatment, the quiet erosion of your trust in yourself. DEXA scans, EMGs, cortisone shots, arthroscopies, balance tests. They were created to help. But when misused, they don't just fail you. They can plant fear, restrict movement, shrink your world. But here's what I want you to remember. You are not fragile. You've climbed ladders, raised families, danced at weddings. You've fought through storms. Your body, even now, has more strength than you think. What you need isn't another test. You need clarity, caution, and the courage to say, not every test is right for me. There is wisdom in doing less. There is power in pausing. There is freedom in asking questions. So next time someone recommends a scan, a surgery, or a shot, pause, stand tall, and remember, the strongest thing you might ever do is simply say no. Your health isn't a chart, it's your story, and it deserves to be written on your terms. If this message resonated with you, please leave a 1 in the comments. If you have suggestions, drop a 0 and let me know how I can better serve you. Like, share, and subscribe for more content made with care for you. Thank you for being here. Here's to aging strong with clarity, purpose, and confidence.